Some of the best rail fanning seems to happen when you least expect it. This was one of those spur-of-the-moment, see-what-happens kind of days. No sooner did I roll up to the tracks than this guy was on top of me. The GM assembly plant in Midwest City closed over 10 years ago, but there's still a healthy number of Autorack trains on the Red Rock sub. These days, the trains are either passing through or delivering cars instead of exporting them. 10 minutes later, and right on the Autorack train's heels is the Arc City Road Freight. Those carbon black hoppers on the front are a dead giveaway. That GP60M and GP40X combo had my attention. I drove off to the north in hope of chasing him, but I found both trains held on the main at Nowers. I also found another local job working in Nowers Yard. Nowers Yard was once Santa Fe's main rail yard in Oklahoma City, but the railroad outgrew the yard in the 1970s and moved to Flynn Yard on the south side. The yard is mostly used for locomotive storage today, and is space for this local job to shuffle its cars around. The customer that this local is delivering to today is on a dead-end spur track, so they have to make sure that their train is in the proper order for delivery before they make their move down the track. It looks like the train is in the reverse order that it should be, so they have to pick the train apart one car at a time and then reassemble it in the proper order before they can make their delivery. They've spotted the car that will lead into the spur on track 2, and now they go back to the original consist to get the next hopper. It's a good thing that this crew has an entire rail yard to work with to make this move, otherwise they'd be using a siding somewhere and taking up valuable time on the main line. They pull that car down to the switch, the conductor makes a cut, and then the engineer gives it a kick, sending it down the tracks under its own momentum, until... crash, bang, boom. Kicking can be pretty rough on the rail cars, and if there was anything fragile inside of them, they probably wouldn't be doing this. But the freight cars are made out of solid steel, so I don't hear them complaining too much. It does save the crews a down and back move, and therefore a lot of time. And it also gives us a pretty good show watching from the sidelines. With the consist sorted, the train now backs down a rickety industrial lead to make its delivery. This industry lead, I believe known commonly as the Lincoln lead, is a spiderweb of old tracks, but exactly 2 of them are in use today. This industrial park has declined over the years, and now the only customer here is Carlisle Food Service Products, which receives plastic pellets at 2 separate locations for molding into kitchenware. Today's delivery is on the East Spur. There's less open track and more cars to shuffle now, so the crew must carefully orchestrate their moves as they pull empty hoppers out and spot the inbound loads. GP39-3 number 2631 was built as GP35 number 901 for the Toledo, Peoria, and Western in 1965 as part of a trade-in deal for some of their older Alco units. This locomotive rode on Alco-style trucks for the first 2 decades of her life. When acquired by the Santa Fe in 1984, they swapped to normal Blomberg-style trucks and rebuilt her to a GP35U. And then another rebuild in 2014 swapped the prime mover from the old 567 to a turbocharged 645, installed modern electronic systems, and changed the designation to a GP39-3. The other two locomotives have led slightly less colorful lives. Both are GP38-2s and have been since they were built. The leaser in the middle came from Norfolk Southern, and the trailing unit traces its heritage to Burlington Northern and the Frisco.
figured the local crew was about tired of being on camera, so we headed back to the main line to check out what our first two trains were doing. Both were still in place, but it looked like the auto racks were about to take off. Red signal for the opposing direction, headlights on full power. I was ready. That's why this guy just about snuck up behind me. just a few minutes, another southbound came in nipping at the first one's heels. A lone Union Pacific Gevo on point made for a pretty nice change of pace. Heavy drizzle started coming down once the bear tables came to a stop, so I retreated into the car to keep the camera dry. On the radio, the Lincoln lead job called for the dispatcher asking for space on the main so he could roll south to Flynn Yard. With both mains clogged, I'm not quite sure when he got it. This train isn't earning a dime for the railroad. There's no revenue from cargo, and the borrowed engine on point means BNSF will have to cut Union Pacific a check for the time that they use the engine. The bear tables weren't even clear of the switch before another train rolled across the bridge, creeping up to a stop at the absolute signal. This time it was the dog food job, returning from their work at the big Purina mill in Edmond. I don't think I've ever seen quite this many trains at once in decades of rail fanning on the Red Rock sub. Whether you want to chalk it up to bad timing or blame the dispatcher, that's up to you. But one thing definitely made the situation worse: crew changes. Nowers Yard is the typical crew change point for through trains, and with one main blocked by stopped northbounds, these southbounds had to roll up single file and wait their turn to get through. The parade kept on rolling. Next up, southbound mixed traffic for Fort Worth. I was still pretty new to the concept of manual focus at the time, so my shot of the engines didn't turn out so great. Finally, the single main was clear, and the dispatcher didn't waste any time getting the northbound trains rolling again. First up, the auto racks. And at long last, the one I was waiting for, the Arc City job. After several hours of congestion and headaches, it's finally back to business as usual. I hope you enjoyed following along with us. Since you can tolerate listening to me yapping about trains long enough to make it this far, why not go a little bit further and subscribe? Drop a like and leave a comment below. And until next time, thanks for watching.